Hello and welcome to the first in another short series of videos. These ones are going to show some useful tools you can use in QGIS to get distance and direction data easily into your maps. As I've said before, my name is Brian Robinson. I am entirely self-taught at all this, so I'm not disseminating knowledge that I've found on a training course, which would be a bit cheeky. I've already done one short series of things that are helpful for biodiversity net gain assessment, so check those out if you need that information. And I just thought I'd also show some tools that we've developed at the place of work, ERAP Consultant Ecologists Limited, with my colleagues. Luke Atherton's been helpful in making these things. So I'm going to give an example which is hopefully straightforward and understandable for what you'd use QGIS for as an ecology. Let's zoom to a site. And this is Liverpool Football Club's ground. I thought Man United, if you've watched the biodiversity net gain assessments, I did them over Old Trafford. I thought maybe Man United suffered enough. We're going to make a new layer, create layer, new shapefile layer. I'm going to call this site boundary. Example going to be a polygon. Make sure that it is in the British national grid. I'm going to make another column called ref. That's text data. Add it to the fields list. That's grand. And then we're going to draw that using the advanced digitizing plugin, so we can just get a nice shape to it. And I'm going to call that 1. I'm going to draw another polygon over this side over here. We'll call that 2, and the reasons for that will become clear later. So we've got one layer, and now we want things to measure distances with between. And for that, I'm going to do another layer, and let's make that points. I'm going to call this ponds. And again, we'll have one called ref, add to the fields list, make sure that that's British National Grid as well, and OK. That looks a bit naff. We want blue ponds, that makes sense. So symbology, blue, and we're going to label this with what we write in the ref field. I'm going to draw a little text buffer for each one so it stands out. OK. Let's draw some ponds. We'll have one here. Lovely stuff. So how do we get the distance to the site from each of these ponds? What we do is we go into the field calculator, open the field calculator, create a virtual field. I'm going to call this distance, a bit of crummy typing, distance. Whole number's fine, and then we're going to look in the tools that we've given here to create a function here that will tell it to look for the distance between each pond and the site. So first up, we're going to look at geometry, and here, distance, that looks good. Return the minimum distance based on spatial ref between two geometries in projected units. Distance, geometry A, geometry B, great. So we'll double click on that, we're having that. And then the first geometry that we want to use is easy. There's a thing called geometry here, which basically returns the geometry as a current feature, can be used for processing with other functions. That's what we want. And then the second one is going to be a little bit more tricky. So we want it to return the geometry of the feature in the layer that we want it to look at. So first up, let's tell it we want to look up the geometry, and then we're going to need a little bit more stuff. Tell it which feature we want. Because I know it's called get feature, I just typed get into this search box up here. get feature, and then for that we want the layer, the attribute and the value. So let's kill that search, go on to map layers, site boundary example, comma, attribute is ref, and remember to put that in single quotation marks because it works that way. And then value, we also want to put in single quotation marks, that's 1, and then close off that bracket, close off that bracket, close off that bracket, and we've got an output preview that works. So if we look in our attribute table now, the distance is given for each of the ponds and the site. And just to double check that, use the measuring tool, measure its pond between its closest reference, and it matches up. Sorry, just a bit of making things neater. So that's all very good. What if we wanted to know how far the ponds were from this site over here that we called number 2? That's not going to be an issue. What we're going to do is double click on this layer here, go on to fields. Don't know if we're going to call that distance to 1. That's been renamed. We're going to just copy this that we've already made. I'm going to go back into the field calculator, paste that, let's call this distance 2. Instead of having a 1 there, we're going to have 2. If we open up the attribute table again, you can see it's calculated the distance between the ponds and the second site instead. Altogether, very, very useful. Another way that this could be seen as useful is here I have, to show you one I made earlier, loaded up. I'm going to turn off the freely available layer that shows all the Ramsar sites in the UK. Now, say for example I wanted to know how far my site 1 was, Liverpool Football Club, from all the Ramsar sites in the UK. It's exactly the same process. Go on to the Ramsar sites layer. No, you don't. Yeah, the Ramsar sites layer. Open the field calculator, distance, copy and paste the formula in again. OK. Just save things to get in the habit of saving things. And then when we open the attribute table, it'll take a little while. It'll take very long actually. And it's given us the distance in meters from every single Ramsar site in the UK from our site. That's handy. And then just to sort of make this a little bit better, we've got a bit of code that works. Once you've got something that works, you can muck around with it a little bit more to make it more like what you want. The first thing is to get it working in the first place. So let's have that to kilometers instead of meters squared. Might give us a slightly funny result this time, but I'm all right with that. So now we've got the kilometers. Say we wanted the kilometers to 2 decimal places. we have to make a new field, change the whole number to the decimal number, and then instead of getting a load of points after the decimal point, we're going to use the round function. I explained the round function in a little bit more detail in the areas calculation. I'll not go over it again here too much, but there we go. Yeah, so yeah, I hope that that's been useful, and I hope you can see how it could be useful in any number of ways. The next couple of videos I'll be showing you how you can get directional data in a similar fashion, because I've seen a few people ask for distance and direction stuff, and then I'll maybe do one on how you could create a nice table using SQL once you've put all that data in. So yeah, thank you very much. And again, if you use this in any professional capacity, please make a donation to QGIS so we can keep getting this freely available software that does all this stuff for us, or make a contribution to a wildlife charity of your choice. I go for the Bat Conservation Trust or for Bug Life. And yeah, if you've found it useful, tell someone who you think might find useful for it so they can figure out how to do this stuff as well. Right, thank you very much.